Okay, so I'll do a round of introduction. Myself, Vishnu. I work with cloud and containers and managing the Kubernetes applications. I'm a consultant at Radical, and I work on live projects. And I will be handling the session on Docker and Kubernetes. We will just do a quick round of discussion on what is Docker and how Kubernetes is going to help you with container orchestration. So let me also share the screen. I hope you're able to see now. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So have you heard of cloud native? Have you heard of it? Okay. So let me just take you there. I'm just resharing. Hopefully you're able to see now. So this is a cloud native landscape. So when we talk about cloud native, you need to understand what happens when we move our applications or migrate it to cloud. So rather than running it on our physical infrastructure, we are going to run it on virtual servers, and we are also going ahead and running virtual machines. Now, whenever we have an application, we might need to deploy it on VMs of desired configuration. And there is a challenge that the VM will be of a particular operating system, but my application might be compatible with some other version. So if I want to ensure that I have to utilize the cloud features to 100%, there we are going to exactly move ahead with the concept of containers. So apart from virtualization, we move ahead to containerization. We will do OS level virtualization, which is nothing but creating containers out of images and then deploying it. So there are a lot of container engines available in the market. Docker is one of the prominent one. We have RKT, LXC, Cryo, Container T. There are many other engines which are available, out of which Docker has been open source, and recently Docker has been commercialized. And Docker helps in building the images, storing into a repository. We have Docker Hub or the container registry. We can host private or public repositories and then pull from there whenever we need. Secondly, when we have to manage the lifecycle of container, we can go for Docker Swarm. We can create a 3-node cluster. Then we can use Docker Compose for orchestration. But just dealing with Docker may not be helpful, because we'll have to end up in creating multiple containers for different microservices for the application. So if you look into cloud native, we have to come up with the principles of microservices, DevOps, implementing solutions on containers and orchestrating them. So Kubernetes also started parallelly for container orchestration. What do we mean by orchestration? You're going to have multiple containers interacting with each other, how the data volumes, how they are sharing namespace, how they are going to ensure that I have 3 containers running, or 5 containers running, or 10 containers, or 20 containers. Whatever we are going to define, which is needed for our deployment, we are going to ensure that it is being managed automatically. So what are the benefits of going ahead with Kubernetes? First, Kubernetes is an open source component. Second, we will be able to deploy application on the cloud service provider by managing our own services. So if you look into the virtual machine services, we have different cloud service providers. We have AWS, Google Cloud Platform, Azure, Alibaba Cloud. Anywhere our containers can run independently. There is no hard dependency. For example, we spin up a virtual machine for Linux, and then we are going to run an Ubuntu image, and then we are going to containerize it and then run our application. Later, I have to change that Ubuntu to Fedora or CentOS or a custom operating system. So it supports the orchestration. Why Kubernetes is gaining importance? Because Kubernetes can not only run Docker containers, it can run any type of containers, RKT, LXC, Cryo, Podman, anything. So Kubernetes will help you to manage all of them. So we can build an image using some container engine technology like Docker, RKT, etc. But we will be able to run and manage the entire operations using Kubernetes. So in Kubernetes, we are going to create pods, and the pods will run the containers for you. So we will set up a 3-node cluster again for high availability. Why 3-node? We will have one master and 2 worker nodes, and we will control everything from the master, and then we will deploy the workload as well. So since it is hands-on oriented, okay, you also need to understand what we are going to cover in this particular section. So let me just share this document also. We will get started with the basics of Kubernetes. We will understand the Kubernetes architecture, how to set up a Kubernetes cluster on VMs, and we will write YAML files for our deployment. We will see how YAML has to be defined. Then we will deploy an on-prem application, and we will use the GUI-based console as well as command line. Then we will also see how to update the application pods. Pods internally will run the containers. So concept-wise, we have nodes, we have pods, and we have container. One node can run one pod, and in one pod, I can have one container. Similarly, I can have one node with multiple pods and each pod running multiple containers. That is also allowed. So we will go with a definition according to our business need as well. Okay. Now, since you have already seen some of the components of the Kubernetes or Docker you are familiar with, open to Kubernetes. Then we have coordination, RPC, remote procedural calls, service proxies, API gateway setup. So while defining and building an application, we will see how Kubernetes is going to help you with the architecture. So let me just show the Kubernetes architecture to you. So I believe all of you have seen a container. This is the icon for container orchestration using Docker Swarm. This is the icon for Kubernetes, and we also have Mesos, Apache, which is also available. Now, moving on to the comparison of top 3 container players in the market, you can see that Kubernetes is way ahead of Apache Mesos or Docker Swarm. So it is one of the famous container orchestration tool. Okay, when you go to the Google Trends and look at the analytics, it will show the worldwide past 12 months data, how Kubernetes have been extensively used. So this is the comparison between using Docker Swarm and Kubernetes. Okay, while setting up the installation of Kubernetes is complex, but it will have scalability of up to 5,000 nodes and running 150,000 pods. Whereas in the Docker Swarm environment, I can have maximum of 1,000 nodes and 30,000 containers. So if you look in the scalability factor, Kubernetes stands way ahead, 5 times ahead of Docker Swarm. Then load balancing supported, networking supported, high availability ensured. These are all features of both Docker Swarm and Kubernetes. Now, we will also go in depth and understand what exactly is Kubernetes. What is Kubernetes? It is a open source orchestration system. Initially started to manage Docker, but later it started supporting any other type of container as well. You can run multiple containers on a single VM or a machine or a physical machine. It can be even your laptop. You can configure and then run it. You can schedule, okay, cluster to be operated on different machines. It can be distributed as well. You can go ahead and manage the entire deployment, including pods, services, etc., from the dashboard. So Kubernetes is also called as K8, 8 letters between U, K, and S, U to E. It's also called as helmsman or the pilot. This is the pilot of the ship, right? You would have seen the anchor, pilot, helmsman logo before. Okay. Now, as I said, Kubernetes was originally designed by Google, which was being contributed to the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. So Google and Linux Foundation formed the CNCF just to ensure that it retains the open source nature of it. So Kuber and Docker goes hand in hand. They are very well compatible with each other. With Docker only, Kubernetes will operate. So some of the features which Kubernetes inherently provides include automatic bin packing, self-healing, storage orchestration, horizontal scaling, batch execution. You name any feature which you might think that will affect your application. It comes as an inherent feature. Inherent means by default available. Okay. So if you look into the resource optimization, utilization, scaling, availability, everything is supported here. Okay. Now, as part of today's discussion, I will also go ahead with a small demonstration So let me just log into aws.amazon.com. I hope you would have created your Amazon ID before. If not, you can go ahead to aws.amazon.com/free and create a free tier account. So why free tier account from AWS? It gives you 1 year free tier where you can actually run different resources without any bill. So I'll help you how to optimize the cost as well if you're operating with AWS. If you're preferring to run on Google, Google gives you 60-day period, okay, out of which $300 credit initially will be available, and then it will be made available for others. Okay, it will be costly after 60 days. If you go to Azure, it gives 30-day package only. So if you look into AWS, it's 12 months free. So this is one thing which everybody prefers. Okay, for the next 1 year, I don't have to pay anything. And you can see that categorize. I can go ahead and see compute engine instance is called as EC2, Elastic Compute Instance, EC2, which will be the virtual machine service which will be available for you to operate. So mostly if you have worked with any physical machine, or as a developer, if you know how to develop and deploy code, it will be easy for you to operate. So Amazon EC2 gives you 750 hours per month. Any idea why 750 hours, guys? Let me hear from you. Why not 700 hours? Why not 800 hours? Any idea? Nishan, Sandeep, Sandesh? You can reply in chat or unmute and speak.
No.
Okay, so it is like 24 into 31. 24 hours in 31 days, which is nearly 744. So even if I run a VM completely, I keep it open for the entire month, it is less than 750. So I'll not get a bill. And this I'm getting for 12 months. So we will have one VM at least ready for us to operate. It will be T2.micro. It is good enough for us to deploy a workload. Okay. If you want at an enterprise level, you can go for larger instance types and there will be costs which will be there. Similarly, while choosing the VM, if you choose open source operating system, it will be easy for us to operate. There is no cost which is involved. Okay, so let me just log in and reshare the screen so that I can show you how you can get started with Docker. 1 minute, guys. I'm just resharing. I'm just passing the credentials for single sign-on. You can log in as root user with email ID password, or as an IAM user, you can also log into your AWS account. So let me just go ahead and do the login. So what I did just now is I just went ahead and logged into the AWS management console. Hope you're able to see now. Can you all see? So I've logged into AWS Cloud. I've chosen Mumbai's Asia Pacific region for deployment purposes. And I can go to services. From services, I can go to compute. Then I can choose EC2, which is virtual server, where we can run manually. Suppose if you want to manage containers, there are also managed services from AWS, which is called as Elastic Container Registry for storing the images like Docker Hub. You can have ECS, which is Elastic Container Service. You don't have to manage the EC2 instance. It will be self-provisioned. Then you have EKS, which is Elastic Kubernetes Service. So even before we go and explore ECS and EKS, we need to understand how we can set it up on the normal VM. So in that regard, I will just navigate to the compute service and log into EC2. You can also search. Yeah, I'll just log in to EC2 now. Give me a second. We will see a quick demonstration of working with Docker and running containers. Okay, we will see how orchestration can be done with Kubernetes later as well. Okay, just a second, guys. Yeah, I think I came back to this window. I'm just resharing. You don't have no problem. Before the next session, you can actually go ahead and create it. So that is totally fine. I was just seeing the replies. Yeah. So let me come back to the database management console. So I'm navigating to EC2. And I have already provisioned the server, but I will show you the steps later how to run or create a virtual machine. Okay, we will be having documented details with detailed steps and screenshots. You can see now one instance is already running. Okay, so I will utilize that for the demonstration purpose. So there are 7 steps which are involved in launching the VM. So you can see that there is a server which has been created and it is in running state. I will select that and I will connect over there. I can do a SSH over the browser. So I'm just going ahead and doing it. I can also connect from third-party clients like Putty or MobileXterm or do an SSH from command line. All that is possible. We will explore different options. One, we will explore using the GUI, graphical user interface. Second, we will use the command line for operation as well. So let it get loaded. I'll just wait for the VM to be provisioned, the connection to be established. VM is already provisioned. So one thing you have to be careful while creating the account, choose individual, learning and purpose, learning and development purpose. Then you can give your credit card for KYC purpose, know your customer. So it will charge you 2 rupees and it will be refunded after the operation of background check. And then it will be active in 24 hours. But even if you are taking say 2-3 days time to provision it, it is fine, because before that we will have to go and understand what is Docker. We will see how to run Docker in a playground. I will provision the playground for you. Second, we will also see how Kubernetes is managed and how Kubernetes playground is utilized. Meanwhile, your account will help you to try out the exercises, assignments, etc. Okay, so can you all see I've connected to the environment? I'll just move in as super user. So I'm just typing in sudo. So these are some basic Linux command which I will also tell you how and what you need to do. Sudo su hyphen sudo switch user. I'm just waiting for the prompt to be active. Sudo su hyphen with space. Then I will say docker hyphen version. So it is going to give me the Docker version. I can also check the Docker info. Docker info will display the entire details of Docker which is installed. So you can see Linux operating system, 1 CPU, total memory, Docker root directory, registry. Can you see index.docker.io? Okay, it is also live in the localhost IP 127.0.0./8. Okay, detail. Now, what I'm going to do is I will say Docker image ls. I'm listing down all the images which are available. Can you see? I have 2 different operating system images, Ubuntu and CentOS. Okay. Then I can also see the running process. So you can see that I have my first container, second container 2, then third container. So first container I've used for my first application. My second container and second container 2 I've used for my second application. Third container I've used for my third application. So you can see that I have run multiple containers on the same VM. So what I'm going to do is I will also say Docker, okay, run hyphen name new hello. Okay, new hello is the name which I have provided, and I will provide the image information also with the same, which is a symbol hello world. Okay, let the prompt be back. Just a second, it is loading. So these commands we will learn in depth with the syntaxes while handling each session. So I'm just going ahead and running hello hyphen world. That is the name of the image which I am going to use. Yeah. So you can understand Docker is a command. Run is going to run that particular image for you. The image name is at the end, hello hyphen world. Okay. So I've just gone ahead and installed Docker, enabled Docker. You can also pull the image and then run, or you can simply run it with a particular name, press enter. So it is unable to find the image. Is it pulling from the same? And are you getting the output hello from Docker, guys? Can you all see this? Okay, I can also list down Docker ps-a. It will also say that a new hello was started 14 seconds ago and it gave the output and it got exited as well. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, similarly, you can pull multiple images. Now, if I go see Docker image ls, I'm listing the images here. Okay, I would also see that hello world image is downloaded. Okay, and it has been utilized. So what I'm going to do is I'll pull another image. Okay, so I can say Docker pull command. Any image which you say can be pulled. Okay, so I'm just going ahead and pulling, say, for example, Nginx is available. Have you heard of Nginx? It is a Linux based web server which is available. Okay, so Nginx. I'm pulling Nginx now. So it is pulling, downloading, extracting, and as soon as extraction completed, I'll get the image latest version here. So I'll list down, I'll get to see that I'm having the latest image, okay, which has been pulled. Now, if I have to run this particular as image as a container, I can say Docker run -it interactive terminal mode -rm after usage, then -d for detached mode, -p for exposing the port. So I'll say 8085 is the external port and I'm mapping to the internal port 80 and I'm providing the name as my new web server. Okay, space Nginx. So this is the name which I'm giving to the container and I'm providing the image to run the particular container. So give me a very long ID, that is totally fine. I'll see Docker ps command. So Docker ps is going to help you to list down the current running process. So let me just type in Docker ps and let's wait for the prompt to be back. There's some slowness in network. This is not that often, I think. Yeah, so you can see that there is a Nginx image which is being utilized and my new web server is launched. It is exposing the traffic over all traffic 0.0.0 to port 8085 over the 80 port of TCP. So what does that mean? Using the public IP, if I go ahead to a new browser and open up port 8085, I will be getting the output of the default Nginx which is running. Okay, so I'm just copying the public IP. Am I getting welcome to Nginx page? You may also try out this particular link and you will also get the same output. So I've exposed port 8085 and I'm getting the welcome message. I can use the same container to deploy an application. I can go ahead and change this. For example, I can say Docker, okay, Docker exec. Okay, I can go ahead and manage an application. Okay, so let me just go ahead inside the container. I will just wait for the prompt to be back. Yeah, -it, and I will connect to this particular container. Sorry, I could not paste it. Let me retry. Some reason it is not copied. Let me just copy it once again. Yeah, note is copied. Docker exec -it followed by the name of the container and I'll say sh. Okay. Now I'm inside the container. So what do? I'll go to the path nginx cd slash usr, that is a path. Okay, then I will have cd src. Okay, src is empty for some reason, so what do I'll do? I'll go to slash etc. I'm getting all the configuration files. I'm just opening up cd slash usr slash share slash nginx. Yeah, I'm getting the HTML path. Okay. Now, if you look into the present working directory, this is the path. And if you cat index.html, you can see this is the welcome message you have got. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I will rewrite this as with HTML tag, header, title, my new app. Okay, I'm just putting some HTML code over there. Okay, body bg color equal to theme, the line equal to sender, welcome to Docker world. Okay, I'm just putting a message and I'm closing my body tag. I'm also closing my HTML tag. Okay. Now, if I do ls and do cat index.html, you can see this is the content which is overwritten. Now I'll come over here and refresh. Am I getting the deployed application web page? Yeah, can you all refresh and confirm? So I can deploy an application on the go inside the container, or I can even automate it and then do it. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if I want to build an image, okay, I'll have to write a Docker file. I can supply the application files, libraries, etc. Then I can do an automated deployment. Now, the current image, okay, which is being run. So if you go here, okay, I'll just come out of the container. Okay, I had moved inside the container. Now I'm back at the prompt. I will look into this particular image. Okay, I have an Nginx image which is being customized. Now I can go ahead with this application. You can see the heading also, right? Whatever application you want, you can take an image copy, use that image for setting up the Kubernetes. So Kubernetes, we will create a deployment.yaml file separately, from where we will go and run Kubernetes workload. So Kubernetes workload also requires certain operation to be performed. You will have to set up Kubernetes, and then you will have to run kubectl commands, kubeadm commands for setting it up as well. Okay. Now that will take more time because you'll have to write the deployment.yaml with different kind of services like load balancer. Then you'll have to write the service. Then you have to write the deployment. So we will have an in-depth discussion during the session as well. Now, until here, any questions?
No, it's clear.
Yeah, any questions? Is it clear?
No, it's clear.
No, fine. So we will be going in a what you call fashion, or I'm not saying slow fashion, but a pace, a steady paced fashion, where we will see certain workloads which are getting deployed on Docker. Once you are familiar and comfortable with Docker, Docker Swarm and Compose, then we will move on to Kubernetes. Because once you are familiar of creating image, pushing the image, we will also see how your account can be used to connect to Docker Hub or even to the ECR, Elastic Container Registry, how to pull images from private registries. Those will be dealt. Then we will use that image as part of Kubernetes workload deployment. So we will see two projects which are being run. So we will touch upon two live projects. There is a non-disclosure agreement. You will be taking a portion of a live application, and you will be also implementing it. That will be the final project which you will be completing as well. Okay.
Okay, just want to ask, will this start with basics of Docker and Kubernetes?
Yes, yes. We will start with the basics of Docker. So the first, let me also share you the
Okay,
screen
and I
back.
want to know whether there are any kind of prerequisites or
Only
some.
prerequisite you might need to is to create an account. So you can see that we will go with the topics. So I have already formulated well-defined lab guides, and you can see that we will start with Docker, then we will go with cloud containers, then Docker Swarm, Docker Compose, then Kubernetes, then we will go ahead with implementation, then deployment, then workload management, how to ensure pods are having a steady state. All that we will be looking into. Okay,
Okay.
so
The reason why I
ideally,
asked is because some of the terms which you use,
yeah,
I'm not that much familiar with. So I
no
didn't.
problem. So
Was
this
not able
is
to
where
catch up with.
correct. This is where I'll be explaining what is an application deployment. Right
Yeah.
from software development lifecycle, what is the requirement to identify the business requirement, how to analyze, how to plan, how to choose the technology stack, how to write code or develop it, then build and test it and deployment. So this is a typical activity which we will go into. So we will start with the data center model comparison with physical machine and moving on to cloud. Okay, then how users are connected via internet and accessing a regional resource, either it can be in the US, Europe, or Asia Pacific. There is a global infrastructure, there is a load balancer, there can be multiple VMs running, and how the VMs will take care of the containers which are being exposed using a certain port number. Okay, so we will see the different ways of containerization, as I said, right from Docker file, building and storing the image into a Docker hub or a registry, and pulling and running it as an application. So we will see this maybe day wise. We will take each component and then we will move ahead with our discussion. So sometimes you might be familiar, but we will start with the basics right away. As you can see, creating a Docker Hub account, creating a public repository, how to pull an image, then after pulling, how to run it as a container. Then the commands and the screenshot along with the steps will be shared to you as document. Similarly, there is a Docker playground which you can activate. And even before you have your AWS account, you can try the same operations in the playground. You can also pull other images, run the workload. Some assignments will be given to you which you can try and solve. If you're facing difficulty, we will discuss that during the session as well, next session as well. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't have to worry. We will go as if that even if you know about Docker or you know about container, but we will do a refresher kind of thing, because initial few days we'll have to understand why we are moving to container. As you said, the terminologies, in which environment. Suppose you want to run it on Windows or you want to run it on Linux. So depending on the need, you can also provision that particular environment with Docker, and then you will be able to run it. So once you're familiar with Docker, we will move on to Kubernetes. So totally we'll have almost 36 plus 4. 36 plus 4 is that 4 hours for project and mock interview. Suppose if you are planning for a job switch or so we will also help you in the resume preparation. I'll conduct mock interview for you, and then we will help you edit your resume in a good form with the skill set of Docker and Kubernetes, which can be showcased as well. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions, Nishan, Sandesh?
No, it's clear.
Okay, okay. So that's it from my end. If you have any further queries, I'll wait for another 2 minutes to clarify. Any questions?
No, Vishnu, we are ready.
Okay. So we will get in touch with you and we'll get started. Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.